Before we start today's video, I'd like to apologise that I haven't uploaded in quite a long time. That's because I've been really busy with my work and just a lot of things, and I haven't had enough money to keep the stuff coming that I need to purchase for my project. So luckily now I've managed to buy something at least. Pardon me. And that's what today's video is about. It's about the motor controller for my electric motorcycle. And here it is. This is a Sevcon Gen 4, size 4. It's quite a beefy thing. It's got some size to it and it's got a lot of weight to it. I think this weighs probably about 4 or 5 kilos, 3 to 5 kilos I think. And this is a 300 amp, 110 volt controller, so that goes up to 150 volts and up to 450 amps peak, so it's got some power in it. And I think it's ideal for the project because if any of you have heard of the Zero electric motorcycle, they use pretty much this exact same controller, not the Gen 4, not the size 4, they use one size bigger than this, but I didn't see the point as I won't be running 70 kilowatts, I'll only be going for about 20 kilowatts. So I won't be needing any more power than that. So I thought I'd go with this, and this was relatively cheap as I managed to get this off eBay. Usually they're about £700, which is really expensive. Annoyingly this one got damaged in shipping. As you can see here, I had to plastic weld that. There's a big crack in the housing, which isn't favourable considering it needs to be waterproof. Pardon me. The wire I'll be using to connect this is this orange welding cable, which looks exactly like EV cable from the colour. Now it's only rated for 100 volts, but I'm pretty sure it'll be alright with 134, so that should be good. I've got some big terminals here as well, big crimp lugs. Oh, that's the wrong one. Those are the battery, those are the controller. So just grab one of those, shove it on the end of this cable, like so. I need to obviously crimp this on to the correct length of cable. This is going to go inside the battery box between the isolator, which is this little 12 volt, 24 volt thingy, which I found ages ago. I'm not sure how this is going to handle the 134 volts because that's quite a big spark that it usually makes, even on contactors. Even with pre-charge resistors, there is usually quite a substantial spark when breaking or making that circuit. So I'm not sure how this will fare, but I'll make sure to let you all know how that goes, hopefully well. But anyway, this is the cable. So you've got your positive terminal here. So all you do is take out that screw, bolt, and put on the cable like so, and then tighten that to, I think it was 8.8 Newton meters of torque. You do exactly the same with the negative terminal, except for that the negative terminal will have the BMS in series, which I've also got here. This is the old BMS from my old e-bike because I decided to take that apart as I couldn't be asked to buy a new BMS, mainly because they're really expensive, but also because the batteries weren't right for it, it didn't go fast enough, and it was illegal. So that's where this new project is a bit better on the aspect of legality, especially because I don't like riding illegal death bikes. Even though it is quite fun, it's not the best idea really, especially with e-bike laws changing all the time. I'll just put that off to the side again. Anyway, so this is the controller. That's most of the stuff that I have to say. And hang on, just grab the harness for the controller. shelf. So this is Sevcon's very annoying 35-pin amp seal connector, which is very nice. But unless you have their lovely proprietary crimping tool for this, and I'm not spending £300 to crimp one of these connectors, it is a real pain in the arse, because I usually like to solder crimps, especially these are a real pain in the arse. These 8-gauge wires soldered into those crimp lugs. I do that with just a 60-watt soldering iron. It's not too bad, but it's just not fun. Most things in life aren't these days, but this is a 35-pin amp seal connector that goes right in there. Oh, the sound that makes is absolutely beautiful. That will also, along with its massive bundle of buggery, go off to the motorcycle. Throttle, lights, contactors, that sort of stuff. Also, one thing that is really cool about this controller, it has CAN bus, which is one really cool, two really annoying because you need a really expensive proprietary programming thingy to program this controller, which is really annoying, of course, because it's expensive. But the other cool thing is because it has CAN bus. Now, Sevcon have their own display called a Clearview display. Those things are about £500, which is really quite a lot of money for just something that I'm going to have on my dashboard telling me how fast I'm going and how much current I'm drawing. So I figured out that with one of these, which cost exactly £3.99, you can interface this with an Arduino, which I don't have one lying around at the moment because it's in the other room. And I'm basically going to be making my own Sevcon Clearview display, or something equivalent of, so displays current, voltage, power, speed, RPM and phase related stuff, and maybe some encoder data if I feel really fancy, but I doubt I'll do anything like that. It'll also display what drive mode I'm in, for example Sport, Eco or Commute, which is probably going to be a mixture of both. But yeah, if you get one of these, build your own display. It's very simple. It's an Arduino library that's designed to read out all the things you'd want, like speed, RPM, and as I said. And you can build your own display with a small TFT panel like this, an Arduino, which probably, well, this costs about £5 or something like that. This costs about £3, and the Arduino costs about £3 as well. So under £15, you can build yourself a display for this controller, which is quite amazing considering the actual thing costs about 550 quid, which is ridiculous. I think that's all there is about the controller. I think I will move on to the BMS next because I've got a few things I need to cram into this video. Here's the BMS. This is readily known as an ant BMS. I don't know why they call it that. Some Chinese-made BMS, which is actually really well made, and lots of people use this in their e-bikes. I don't know if it'll be up to the task on running a full-blown electric motorcycle, but we'll find out, because I want to push more than 300 amps through this little thing, which has 28 104 amp MOSFETs on it, which means technically it should be capable of 300 amps, but there's other limiting factors like the traces on the PCB, the current shunts, and how hot those get, so I'm probably going to need to put something like this in the battery box to blow on it. And some big fat heat sinks too, ideally, but I think it'll be alright. And otherwise, I will replace the MOSFET PCB and the shunt. I'll replace it with a larger 500 amp shunt and replace the MOSFETs with a contactor and a pre-charge resistor, of course. This actually has a pre-charge FET built in, which I thought was really cool when I realised, because that means I don't need a pre-charge resistor, which is really useful. Pardon me. I think that's about all there is to say about the BMS, except for that it also has an LCD that comes with it, which is also on my shelf for some reason. In the box of vehicle-related stuff. There we go. It comes with this little LCD screen. Little 128 by 64, I think it is, LCD graphic display, which is quite cool, but it lacks the things that I want to know. It shows you speed and RPM. I don't necessarily want it to show that. I want this to be completely battery management focused. So this is going to show me my cell statistics and current, maybe not even current. This is probably just going to read out cell stats. The Clearview display or alternative self-built thingy will read out the actual current and motor stuff. Because I think having two displays that say the same thing, there's not really any point in that whatsoever, which is already basically what I have. But I've thought of something really cool, and bear with me, I need to put these crimp plugs back. Otherwise I'll lose them and I'll need to buy some more, and they're very expensive. Right, so this is actually the dashboard from the motorcycle that I have at the moment. Now, the motorcycle that I have at the moment is a Honda CBR125R, which is a very small bike. It's really quite tiny. It's barely bigger than a bicycle, in fact. So I may need to buy a bigger one. If there's any recommendations for something that's reasonably cheap, I was thinking of a Honda CBR 1000, but those are quite expensive. Or something in the line of 750 to 1000 cc in size with a non-running engine, because I don't need the engine, but the bike needs to be in somewhat good condition. Anyway, this is the dash. As you can see, I have removed the telltales. Now this old dash has one telltale light for both indicators. I've replaced that with two LEDs so that it has proper telltales. I've replaced the high beam with an LED too. I'm going to drill out the neutral indicator because, of course, it's electric. It will not have any gears. So I'm going to replace the neutral with one of these lovely 19 or 22 mil, whatever they are, illuminated push buttons to power the BMS. So that's going to look really nice. In fact, I've got an even better one here because this one's black, so it'll match the colour of the dash, and it's got a lovely sound to it, so that should be very good. Now also, I want to add displays onto the side of the dash, but I want to keep the dash as it is. Now, what you can actually do, if I find them, there we go, here's the little, oh dear, here's the little fuel gauge. Now if you hook this up to a potentiometer and 12 volts, you can actually adjust what it says on the gauge. So I'm going to use a digital pot here, or PWM of some sort, and read from the Sevcon display that I build. The same values that go to that are going to go to the fuel gauge, the temperature gauge, and the RPM gauge. So the dash will stay completely as it is. All the old gauges will still be there, which I think is really awesome myself. And it will look like a regular dash from a regular motorcycle, but it will be hooked into the electrical system, which is probably going to be a whole load of effort. Excuse me. But I think that's about it, and I will try and get videos out more often because I have a bit more time on my hands at the moment. So that's it for today.